Hey guys, welcome back to Del Tales. This one is going to be audio only, so you can definitely just listen in the background. You won't have to watch. You can just put the screen down or go on about your day with whichever you're doing. So, I've been so anxious to get Joe Rogan to have Trump on the show because I always thought Joe Rogan would be the one person that could get Trump speaking and actually answering questions that we all know we want Trump to answer. But I think we ran into the same issue even with Joe Rogan when Trump came on because it's I don't know how to explain this, but I always before I say anything else, I always thought Joe Rogan's podcast would be the one place that Donald Trump can actually come out and say what he wishes to say, and there would not be a huge backlash on the content creators' part. But the same kind of issues keep showing up when anyone talks to Trump. It seems like, he's not allowed to actually say what he wants to say. And maybe there are limitations on what he is allowed to say. And maybe even he himself limits exactly what he says to certain people. Because when you listen to him and he's asked questions directly, what he does is he loops around the answer and then tries to say whatever he wants to say that has nothing to do with the question, by the way. And Joe did a great job to bring him back to the original question, but at the same time, letting him speak his mind completely out. Because when you look at Trump's face during this conversation, after some questions were asked, you can clearly see in his face that there's just certain things he's just simply cannot say. While at the same time, he has something he wants to get off of his mind, no matter what it is, and he just wants to run off with those ideas, regardless of what it is. Whether it's examples about when Joe Rogan asked him about the JFK files, when he was asked about the first day in office, when he was asked about the 2020 election results, when he kept saying that Russia would have never attacked Ukraine under his presidency, but never concluded exactly how that would happen. He mentioned quite a few things about tariffs during this conversation. But the matter of the fact is that this can also create national inflation as well, but no one's talking about that. Certain goods would be much more expensive if he just put 200% tariffs on everything else, or even 100% tariff on everything else coming from China. I mean, we've seen what happened to car prices over time. I mean, even used car prices have gone up. So cars are not much better versus the prices, that they were in the past. As are many other goods. Many other goods are also far more expensive for no reason. He also mentioned how presidents currently, speaking of Biden, are just incompetent to make deals that he was able to make while he was president. But then again, this is one of those things where we know he really could not touch on the topic. He's able to say some of these things just blatantly without backing it up because he's kind of an entertainer. And even though sometimes he might be saying something that may be off the wall, we all cannot lie to ourselves when we say we don't listen. Okay, we are definitely listening because he's truly an entertainer who's just happens to be a businessman at the same time. So if I had to pick out for me what Trump has mastered, is definitely something that I don't think enough people give him credit for. A lot of people try to say he's not competent, but the truth is the guy is very competent. He just knows how to speak to his followers. He knows how to simplify things that he wants to say. He knows how to use his capabilities as an entertainer to simplify the speech that he wants to give. He says it in ways that may come off as a joke, and sometimes he may just say some nonsensical stuff. But other times he distracts you from what the actual question is, with a bunch of word salad on other things that has nothing to do with what was asked of him, But this is at the same time why people will take small things that he says and run with it, whether it's they're eating the cats and the dogs, or, Hillary will go to jail, or, all the rhetoric, you guys know this. Even the 2020 election, we all know what is being said. But Joe definitely tried the best to let him speak and just let him run off. But more importantly, he tried to bring him back around to the topics. But at no time in the 2-hour conversation did Trump ever answer any of the questions, to be completely honest. I guess we learned more about the people that Trump respects and the people that he sees as good people, the people that he sees as bad people. and also his position on JD Vance, what he thinks of him. But to be completely fair, if you had not heard this conversation, you really should just go to YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts and listen to this. And maybe you will hear something that I did not hear, or maybe the 34 million people that heard it the first 2 days did not hear. Maybe he answered some questions in a different way that myself or Joe or anyone else was just not looking for. When he was asked about the JFK thing, one of the points that I made earlier, he made a statement in the public a few months back where he said, if I told you what they told me, you wouldn't tell anyone either. And honestly, when Joe Rogan even mentioned that, he was like, I can't wait to ask him this question. And basically, we got nothing. When he was asked about his first day in office, basically all we got is, I can't talk about that. Long story short. When he was asked about the 2020 elections, he said that he technically won the elections and he's writing a book about it. He said there were other books that were written about it. He didn't reference any specific ones. And I thought that was an interesting choice. When he kept saying that Russia would have never attacked Ukraine under his presidency, once again, he didn't really show why that would have been the case, because all he said was he was going to put tariffs on them. I'm not exactly sure why that would make Russia not attack Ukraine. When he kept mentioning tariffs, goods are getting much more expensive. We have to remember some of his effects of his presidency carries over into the Biden administration as well. And Biden has to, clean that stuff up. Some of the things that he inherited from Obama were also great. He tried to get rid of Obamacare, as they so call it, but the reality is there is no such thing as Obamacare. It's the Affordable Care Act. He tried to get rid of it. They could not. He tried to change it up a little bit, but for the most part, it just stayed the same. He didn't really have an answer for what he wanted to do with that either. But what I would do for anyone is I would definitely invite you guys to listen to this podcast. And like I said, if you heard something different, please let me know, because I can't really tell if there was anything different that may be missing from this end at all. But thank you guys very much for listening. I just wanted this to be a short video, or really audio, where you guys just hear me say my review on what Trump and Joe Rogan talked about. But I really do hope you guys give it a chance to listen to. And thank you guys for listening once again. Have a good day, fellas.